Biggest moments. Listen to Mike Shilt's post-game comments. Plus, we'll bring you today's play of the game. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
We are live inside our San Diego studios. Another tough one for the Padres as they begin this 3-game series in Toronto and this 6-game road trip. Final score, the Blue Jays 3 and the Padres nothing. As we welcome you into the Jamul Casino Resort post-game show, Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Hey, player, when it comes to giving you what you want, Jamul Casino Resort isn't playing around. It's way more than a place to game. It's a place where you can stay and play in every possible way. Jamul Casino Resort, the player's place. Well, if you were hoping that the day off and a road trip would get the Padres offense going, well, unfortunately, it was the opposite here today. Padres get shut out in Toronto in this series opener. They collected just 5 hits in this game. Padres went 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position and really did not have much going offensively at all against Chris Bassett or against the Blue Jays bullpen. Dylan Cease was really good in this game. We'll get to him in a moment. But again, the big number that stands out for a 4th consecutive game, the number of runs scored. And this went backwards today. As you probably know, Padres scored 1 run on Friday against the Mariners, 1 run on Saturday, 1 run on Sunday. And here on Tuesday against the Blue Jays, they don't get 1 run. They get shut out by the Blue Jays. So the Padres offense, not to pile on here, but to give you the numbers, as the Padres have now lost 4 in a row. They have scored a grand total of 3 runs in 4 games. They are 0 for 24 with runners in scoring position in that span. And here today, it was a little bit different in a couple of ways. Number one, you look at the hit totals for the Padres. Their offense over the weekend, 8 hits on Friday, 8 hits Saturday, 7 hits on Sunday. The big issue for the Padres wasn't just a lack of, I guess I would put it precisely, a lack of offense, quote unquote, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but it was really the issues with runners in scoring position going 0 for 21 in those opportunities. You felt like the Padres could have won a game or two in that series had they come through in those situations, and they did not. Here today, though, 5 hits, and you look at it, Padres did not have multiple base runners on in any inning. You know, the hits were kind of scattered, a double in the first inning with 1 out, a 2-out single in the 3rd, a 2-out walk in the 4th inning, a 1-out single in the 5th inning, a 2-out single in the 6th inning, leadoff single in the 7th inning was immediately erased by a double play, 1-2-3 8th inning, 1-2-3 9th inning. So the Padres just never were able to string any hits together. So this one was, you know, I hate to say, I think it was a little bit worse than what we saw over the weekend because the opportunities didn't really exist for the Padres in this game. And this is a collective slump right now. It just is what it is. Again, 3 runs in 4 games. I don't know how you could say anything else. And the problem when you're not scoring to this degree is that you are putting an enormous amount of pressure on your pitching staff. And Dylan Cease was really good today. I mean, you cannot expect your starting pitchers to go out there and just throw up zeros inning after inning. Final line today for Dylan Cease: 7 innings, 3 earned runs, 3 hits. He struck out 6 and walked 1. He made 2 mistakes in this game. Gave up the home run to Vlad Guerrero Jr. in the 1st inning solo shot. Walked a batter on a really close 3-2 pitch in the 5th inning. 2-run home run to a struggling Anthony Santander in the 5th. That made it 3-0. But aside from that, I mean, Dylan was really good. He retired 11 in a row from the home run in the 1st inning until he walked the leadoff man in the 5th. If you just take out basically 3 batters in this game, he was really, really good. He only dealt with base runners in 2 innings in this game. And yes, did he make mistakes? Did he want to give up the home runs? Of course not. But everybody, it's hard to win games if you don't score any runs or if you score 1 run a game. That's just putting way too much pressure on your pitching staff to be perfect. And realistically, they're not going to be perfect. And Dylan Cease, you know, I don't care that he took the loss in this game. He was really good and pitched well enough to win in this game, and had Vlad Guerrero Jr. hit the home run in the 1st inning, and that was it for the Blue Jays. That was it against Dylan Cease. He had gone 7 innings, given up 1 run instead of 3 runs. Well, guess what? The Padres still, if they have the same exact offensive game don't win this game. So it's just a tough go of it right now. And before we go to break here, we'll get to the radio highlights. We'll get to Mike Shildt. All that stuff is coming up. Let's just quickly go through our keys to the game because we really looked at the offense today and really broke it down kind of piece by piece. Runners in scoring position, that was key number one. Well, you look at the first inning, that kind of set the tone for the game because the Padres got a one-out double for Luis Arraez, and then Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill struck out against Chris Bassett. Padres don't score there. Right there off the bat, it was 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. Padres only had one other at-bat in this game with a runner in scoring position. Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, we talked about. And again, I'm not trying to pile on here, but these are the numbers. Manny and Merrill went a combined 1 for 22 in the 3-game series against Seattle. Well, you look at this game, Manny was 0 for 4. Merrill was 1 for 4 with a single, so that's a combined 1 for 8. So it wasn't super productive there. Fernando Tatis Jr., we talked about needing more from Fernando. Well, Fernando had a single in this game that came in the third, but he was 1 for 4, so not super impactful there. So look, you look at the very top 5 spots of the lineup today. He had 3 hits, 1 double from Arraez, just not a whole lot going. And when you're in a tight game, and this was that, got to capitalize on opportunities, and the Padres could not do that. And the Padres also, we talked about the power, right? In our What to Watch For segment, it was one of those games where a lot of what we talked about pregame, you could fit into what was happening. What to Watch For segment today, pregame, we talked about would either of these teams hit home runs, because we pointed out that both these teams came into today in the bottom 7 in team home runs among major league teams. Now, their records coming in very different. The Padres came in 27-18. The Blue Jays came in 2 games under 500. But the runs tonight came by 2 home runs for the Blue Jays, and the Padres didn't have any. So the point being, if you're not going to hit home runs and you're not going to string hits together and you're not going to hit well with runners in scoring position, it's just going to be really hard to score runs. And the Padres are they're in a collective slump right now, and they've got some really big hitters that are not swinging the bat great. Fernando's not swinging it great. Manny obviously took another 0 for today. Jackson Merrill, I think it's now 1 for his last 23 after today. So look, they got to find a way to get it going, and we'll see if they can do that tomorrow against the Toronto Blue Jays in the middle game of this series. We'll step aside. When we come back, we have all the radio highlights for you. We'll hear from Mike Shildt coming up as well. Final score again, Blue Jays 3 and the Padres nothing, as unfortunately the Padres lose a 4th consecutive game. Our post-game coverage continues after this on the Padres Radio Network. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score, the Blue Jays 3 and the Padres nothing, as the Blue Jays improved to 23-24 on the year. Padres dropped to 27-19. Padres have now lost 4 in a row, and they are 2-6 in their last 8 games. We'll go back to north of the border in Canada, hear from Mike Shildt in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. But first, let's recap this one from start to finish.
Which moments determine the outcome of today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game highlights on the Padres Radio Network.
We had a good starting pitching matchup tonight. Chris Bassitt on the mound for the Blue Jays. Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. Bassitt worked around a one-out double from Luis Arraez in the top of the first inning. In the bottom half, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. dug in.
0-1, swung on, driven to left field and deep. Going back for it is Hayward. He's at the wall. He looks up. It's gone. Into the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. 1-0 Jays.
So a home run for Vlad Guerrero Jr. for Vladdy, only his 6th of the season. From that point on, Cease was great. He retired the next 11 in a row through the end of the 4th inning. But the problem, the Padres weren't scoring against Bassitt. They had at least one base runner on in 4 of the first 5 innings. Padres still trailed 1-0 going bottom 5. Cease walked Alejandro Kirk on a close 3-2 pitch. That set things up for Anthony Santander.
Runs. First pitch swinging, fly ball to Fernando. He looks up. This one is gone. A line drive shot by Santander. And all of a sudden, the Jays have a 3-0 lead.
So Dylan Cease was through 5 innings in this game, but he had made 2 mistakes. The home run to Vladdy in the first inning, the home run to Santander in the 5th. Blue Jays had a 3-0 lead. Chris Bassitt was really good, gave up just 4 hits in 6 scoreless innings. Brendan Little threw a scoreless top of the 7th inning. Dylan Cease was really good, 7 innings, 3 runs, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts. 1-2-3 6th inning, 1-2-3 7th inning to polish off the outing, but he did give up the 2 home runs. Yariel Rodriguez threw a 1-2-3 top of the 8th inning. Jeff Hoffman came on for the save opportunity in a 3-0 game in the top of the 9th inning, and he put on the finishing touch.
Pitch, hot shot, one hopper, but third baseman Barger's got it over to first base in time, and that will do. Hoffman locks down his 10th save of the season. Blue Jays taking one of this 3-game set over the Padres by a score of 3-0.
And a very loud horn at Rogers Center in Toronto as well. Final totals here tonight for the Padres: no runs, 5 hits, no errors. They left on 5. Blue Jays 3 runs, 3 hits, no errors. They left on 1. The winning pitcher, Chris Bassitt, who improves to 4-2. Dylan Cease, a tough luck loss. He drops to 1-3. Jeff Hoffman picked up his 10th save of the season. So how about that? Blue Jays had 3 hits in this game. They all came against Dylan Cease, but 2 of them were home runs, and that was the difference in this game. But as I said in the opening segment, hey, Dylan Cease could have given up just 1 home run, the early one to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and if the Padres have the same exact game at the plate, well, guess what? Wouldn't have mattered. Padres still lose this game. Tough one for the Padres offense. Again, the Padres have scored a grand total of 3 runs in this 4-game losing streak going back to Friday. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Again, the Padres fall 3-0 in this series opener in Toronto. Our postgame coverage continues after this on the Padres Radio Network. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Little Earth, Wind, and Fire for you. 21st of September. May that be a reminder to us all that baseball season is very, very long. Lots of twists and turns, and typically things are never as great as they are, they're never as actually great as when you're at your absolute height of a season, and they're usually not as bad as the lows, the real low lows of a season. And Padres offense right now, they are struggling, no doubt about that. No runs scored here tonight after just 3 runs scored in total over the weekend. Padres have lost 4 in a row, but we'll see if they can get back on track in the middle game of this series tomorrow. Much more on that ball game coming up a little bit later on. Again, Dylan Cease was solid in this game. 7 innings, 3 runs given up, 3 hits allowed, a quality start by the definition. Gave up 2 home runs, one in the first inning to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., a 2-run home run to Anthony Santander in the 5th inning. 2 home runs. That was it. All the scoring in this game. Padres had a grand total of 5 hits. They went 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. Padres did not have multiple base runners on in any inning in this game. With all that in mind, let's go back to Rogers Center in Toronto and hear some post-game reaction.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Mike, let's start with Dylan. Doesn't get much better than that. Over 7 innings. Couple pitches that got hit.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right, Ace. 7 really quality innings, in control effectively the whole night. Throwing where we wanted to, a lot of life, slider really good. Guerrero actually got a pitch that was pretty good heater up, put a swing on it. The slider, Santana, he was able to get some barrel on it, obviously, but Dylan was fantastic and gave us 7 quality innings. It's always nice to get 7 innings out of your starter, especially when you start a stretch of games, at the beginning of a stretch of games. So he was really good.
How disappointing then, obviously, any losses, but then you get that quality start. The offense continues to struggle.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it was pitcher's duel. Bassett pitched very well, located his heater. Big curveball that you don't see very often. Split was good. So he pitched, kept us off balance. We out-hit him. We've out-hit our opponent the last couple of games. Just hadn't been able to string anything together. Some good at-bats, beyond the hits that we did have. Bogey again, missile to the outfield. 1 hop missile in the game, got a walk. Diaz, good pinch hit. Took him the wall. Manny drove a ball to center. So they were good at-bats, just not finding any holes and not putting anything together consistently. And, it will turn.
Is that what you mostly put your finger on there, is the not stringing together, which is something you guys have been so good at for more than a year now? Because as you said, you have out-hit guys. Anything you can pinpoint there? No,
not necessarily. I mean, the thing that makes our offense really good, and, baseball happens. Other teams, guys, we've run into some pretty good pitching. You mentioned Bassett. Their relievers were good tonight. There's no – if there was, people would bottle it and sell it. But, I feel like we've got the best version of what an offense looks like, and that's the ability to have consistent at-bats, regardless of type of pitcher. And, we put the ball in play, and we do a lot of things that are really good. And that's all we can do, and when you get good pitching and you have close games, it really is a matter of, you hit some balls at people, you don't get the proverbial timely hit. But I do know if we continue to do what we've done, and we will, and that's stack on, as many quality at bats as we can. And as Toddy always says, and I love it, do what the situation calls for, then, this too shall pass sooner than later.
Like with Dylan, string of quality starts he's put together now, and obviously he's not a guy to get too low or too high, but how do you see his confidence level right now with the way that he has been pitching for the last little bit? Yeah,
I think Dylan's in a really good spot. He's always, again, he's not a guy that is going to ride too high. He has high expectations. I honestly believe that he pretty much expects to throw a no-hitter every time he goes out. if things don't work out as well, he's more like, okay, what do I need to do different or better? But knowing he also knows it's short term, just like our offense. Things happen in the short term. But what we're seeing is Dylan Cease, being who he is at his best, and that's really good. And the body language is great, the attack's good, the life's good, the slider's outstanding. So he's in a really good spot for us.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
What's it do when Jason goes out and gets a hit? Each of the last couple games when he's been scuffling, you guys need production out of that spot.
Yeah, we need production everywhere, and but it does say something. It's a guy that I didn't mention I should have, and the quality of bat. He lays out a line drive. The other thing that I liked about Jason Knight, he was laying off some borderline pitches and seeing the ball good. So when you're seeing the ball good and you feel like you got your swing going, then you get a good result typically. Not the good result being a hard hit ball. It fell, got in there tonight. Nice line drive, and so it's a good something to build on.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt after this 3-0 loss to the Toronto Blue Jays on this Tuesday. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll dive a little bit deeper into Dylan Cease and what he's done at these last 3 outings, because it is a silver lining from another tough one here today for the Padres. And we'll also dive a little bit deeper into some of what was discussed there about the Padres offense and continue to dissect sort of the conundrum the Padres offense is in right now. We'll have our catch of the game, play of the game, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. If you want to get a phone call in, 833-288-0973. Phone number to call. Again, phone number is always 833-288-0973 if you want to chime in. Final score, Blue Jays 3, Padres 0. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues after these words. Welcome back to the Jamul Casino Resort post-game show, brought to you by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we continue to wrap up a 3-0 defeat for the Padres in Toronto tonight. Padres dropped to 27-19. Blue Jays improved to 23-24. Padres have now lost 4 in a row. They continue this 3-game series tomorrow. More on that ball game coming up a little bit later on. Before we get to some of our daily awards, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. If you want to get a phone call in to discuss tonight's game, you can do that at 833-288-0973. As always, 833-288-0973. Let's talk about a couple of things here. One on the positive side, and I do think it's a significant silver lining and positive of this game, and that's the fact that Dylan Cease put together another really good outing, a third really strong outing in a row. He went 7 complete innings for the first time this season. He's now put together 3 straight quality starts. It's a 2.66 ERA in 20-plus innings, 134 opponent batting average, 0.64 whip in his last 3 starts. And as we learned last year with Dylan, typically when he finds it, it rolls start to start, and he finds it for a while, and it certainly seems like Dylan has found it. Now, did he make 2 mistakes in this game? Yes. Does the lack of offense put just unfair pressure on your pitching to be perfect? Yes. But look, final line was this tonight. 7 innings, 3 runs, 3 hits. I mean, that's a really good start in the major leagues, and it's a start good enough to win. And again, now 3 consecutive quality starts, a 2.66 ERA in his last 3 starts. So Dylan Cease continues to prove that he sort of found it after what was a rocky first month or so. So that is a significant positive from an otherwise forgettable night for the Padres. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the offense, and it'll echo what I said in the opening segment and what we talked about pregame today and what Mike Shildt discussed after the game. Look, the Padres today, yes, they did out-hit their opponent. They had 5 hits. The Blue Jays had 3. But what was the biggest difference between those hits today? Well, the Padres scattered 5 hits. They never had more than a single base runner on in any inning in this game. They didn't capitalize when they did have runners in scoring position. They went 0 for 3. And the Blue Jays, out of their 3 hits, 2 of them were home runs. And it kind of is the conundrum the Padres offense is in right now, because they're not a team through 40-plus games that hits a lot of home runs. Both these teams, in fact, entered today in the bottom 7 in team home runs among major league teams so far this season. Padres have only hit 41 in 46 games now. So if you're not going to hit home runs, then you've got to find ways to string hits together and score. And we know the best version of this offense is when they've had the most success this season is when they do exactly that. If you're going to go through periods and stretches where you don't do that, well, then you better get some home runs or you're not going to score very much. And I do feel that's kind of what we're seeing right now. They're not hitting home runs, but they're also not stringing hits together. They're not moving the line. And a big reason for that is they've got guys in the middle of the lineup that are slumping right now. Manny took another 0 for today. He's now 0 for his last 15. Jackson Merrill was 1 for 4, so I believe that's now 2 for his last 23. That's tough out of the 3 and 4 spots. Fernando had a base hit. He hasn't been great as of late. Look, when we know the Padres are going to go as this top of the lineup goes, they need those guys to be really good. So, and they need him to hit for power too. So, look, you kind of put all that together, and it's kind of no wonder why the offense is struggling as mightily as it is right now. Again, the Padres have scored only 3 runs in their last 4 games combined. So they get shut out today, 3-0 in this series opener in Toronto. All right, let's tell you about today's relief pitcher of the game.
Which pitcher entered the game and slammed the door shut? This is today's relief pitcher of the game, presented by David P. Shapiro Criminal Defense Attorneys. When your freedom and future are on the line, you need the best arm in the pen. Visit DavidPShapiroLaw.com.
Well, stay on the positive side of things for relief pitcher of the game because we can today. Padres only had to use one reliever. That was another good part of Dylan Cease going 7 innings, is that entering a stretch where the Padres have a lot of games in a row here. Well, they only had to use one reliever, and it was Wandy Peralta who threw a scoreless 8th inning. So stay on the positive end of things today. Wandy Peralta, our relief pitcher of the game, scoreless inning. And look, hey, game wasn't over. I mean, bottom half of the 8th inning, 3-run game. Jeff Hoffman's had some rough appearances this year, the closer for the Blue Jays. So, hey, it wasn't like you were totally out of the game. And Wandy, to his credit, did keep it a 3-run game. Let's hear tonight's catch of the game.
Which defensive play had the biggest impact on today's game?
He is at the wall, leaps up, and he makes the catch.
This is the catch of the game.
Gonna hang a star for Jackson Merrill.
Reeled in by Anthony's Fish Grotto La Mesa, celebrating 80 years of seafood excellence.
The 3-2 pitch swung on. Hot shot to Luis Ariz. He snares it, fires back over to third base in time for the double play. Nice play by Luis Ariz as he snares the line drive and is able to fire a missile over to Manny Machado on the third base bag. And that's an end to the Jays rally here in the 5th inning, but they do get 2 runs on the 2-run home run by Anthony Santander.
Our catch of the game, that line drive double play in the 5th inning. It was caught by Luis Ariz with the infield in, doubled off the runner at third base. Nice play, and at the moment you felt like could be a big one in this game. Padres only trailed 3-0 at that point. It was a runner on third base, 1 out. Blue Jays looking for more. Padres and Dylan Cease would get out of that bottom half of the 5th inning with no more damage or runs across for the Blue Jays. And hey, they did a good job getting out of the inning. Nice double play turned on the line drive. Quick reaction by Luis. Good strong throw to third base. But unfortunately, Padres never could get on the board as they fall 3-0. But that line out double play went 3-5, our catch of today's game. All right, let's go to the phones. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I don't promise to have the answers or a solution necessarily to the Padres' offensive struggles, but as always, I'm here to be a sounding board for you, the fan. Let's go to Chula Vista. It's John calling in. John, you're on the Padres Radio Network. Welcome in.
That's what I think.
All right, hold on. We'll try to... John, I'm going to bring you on again. Let's see if we can get John. John, you're on the radio.
Double play when 3-5.
John, turn your radio down.
Today's game. All right, let's go to the phones. 833-288.
All right, John. Wait, yeah. All right, John, maybe we'll try it again later. Here's a little tip for everybody out there, okay? When you're waiting, I know you want to keep listening while you're waiting, but you're going to hear me on the phone first before you ever hear me on the radio, okay? So you got to turn your radio down a little bit while you're waiting on the phone. I understand. And by the way, you should be able to hear everything I'm saying on the air while you're waiting on hold. So you're not missing anything if you're just listening on the phone. All right. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Phone number to call if you want to get involved. Let's step aside. When we return, we'll look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll wrap things up, get you ready for tomorrow's game. Much more to do. Final score, Blue Jays 3 and the Padres nothing. This is the Padres Radio Network. Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we continue to wrap this one up. Final score, the Blue Jays 3 and the Padres nothing in the series opener of this 3-game set and this 6-game road trip to Toronto and Atlanta. We'll hear today's play of the game coming up in just a little bit. We'll also get you ready for the middle game of this series. But first, let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We do have a number of finals already today. Tigers beat the Cardinals 5-4 in St. Louis. The Yankees beat the Rangers 5-2 in New York earlier tonight. Rays beat the Astros 3-2 in Tampa Bay. Red Sox beat the Mets 2-0 at Fenway Park. Rafael Devers, a home run in that one for the Red Sox. 10th home run of the year for Devers in that one. By the way, it's for another team that the record is good, but they're struggling offensively right now, like the Padres. They've scored only 10 runs in their last 7 games combined. So the Red Sox blank them 2-0 at Fenway tonight. Nationals beat the Braves 5-3 in D.C. Pirates beat the Reds 1-0. RBI single for Brian Reynolds in the 6th inning. Lone run in that game for the Pirates. The Cubs beat the Marlins 14-1 in Miami. An 8-run 6th inning powering the Cubbies in Miami tonight. Games going on right now. Brewers ahead of the Orioles 4-2 in Milwaukee in the 8th inning. White Sox lead the Mariners 1-0 in the 4th inning in Chicago. Phillies 4, Rockies 1 in Colorado in the 6th inning. Royals and the Giants are scoreless in the 2nd. Angels and the A's in Sacramento, they are scoreless in the 1st inning. Diamondbacks and Dodgers just underway in LA in the 1st inning. Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound for LA and Ryan Nelson on the mound for Arizona. We did have one postponement today due to inclement weather in Minnesota. They'll make that one up against the Guardians in September. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Tuesday. Let's hear tonight's play of the game in Toronto.
The line between winning and losing can be razor thin. Which play was the difference between victory and defeat? This is today's play of the game, presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
0-1, swung on, driven to left field and deep. Going back for it is Hayward. He's at the wall. He looks up. It's gone. Into the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. 1-0 Jays.
Our play of the game, as always, gives us no great pleasure to be handing out plays of the game to the opposition, but got to be that way tonight. Padres didn't score a run. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., a solo home run, his 6th of the season. Second batter Dylan Cease faced in this game. Made it 1-0. That is our play of the game. Like we said, had Dylan not given up the 2-run shot to Santander in the 5th inning, and the only run the Blue Jays scored tonight was that home run by Guerrero. But the Padres had the exact same game offensively. Padres still lose this game. So very, very hard, in fact, impossible to win baseball games when you don't score any runs. And as we've alluded to throughout the postgame, Padres offense has only scored 3 in the last 4 games. They are 0 for 24 with runners in scoring position in that span. So it is a rough offensive stretch. It won't last forever, but hopefully the Padres can get it going offensively tomorrow against the Blue Jays. We'll preview that pitching matchup in just a little bit. Let's go back to the phones, 833-288-0973. Let's go to OB, my neck of the woods. It's Gonzo. Gonzo, you're on the Padres Radio Network. Go ahead.
Sammy, my boy, today was a tough one, but I had just one question. We are 27-19 still? Or
yes,
something like that?
Correct.
When was the last time we started off with a record even close to this? Is that
I would say off the top of my head, 2022, if you remember, Gonzo, they actually got off to a really, really good start. So it was probably 22. I don't know what the record was at the same number of games. This would be 46 games in. I don't know the exact record, but 2022 probably was somewhere around here, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'm just trusting Shildt, and hopefully we click it in the later, go to Atlanta a little hungry, play the Marlins, take a little chill, and start fighting those Dodgers.
Yeah, and look, Gonzo, look, the offense is struggling, and appreciate the phone call as always. Gonzo, very loyal listener, and I think YouTube viewer as well. Look, the offense will hit. I mean, I'll say what I said earlier. You're never as bad or lowest of lows. You're never as great as your highest of highs. Okay, the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle about a team in any sport, and hopefully it's more towards the high end of the middle. They're going through a real tough offensive stretch right now, and again, there are reasons for it. Clearly, Manny's not hitting. Merrill's not hitting. Tatis isn't very hot right now. You're not getting much out of left field. You're not getting much out of your catcher spot. That has been true the whole year. And if you're not going to hit home runs, which they're not doing right now, well, you better string hits together, and they're not doing that. So you put all that in the pot, and it doesn't make for a very good offensive stew right now. And you have a total like 3 runs in your last 4 games and an 0 for 24 with runners in scoring position. They will get out of it. I'm very confident in saying that. You just hope it's sooner rather than later. Look, to your point on the record, they are 27-19. Now, it's a great start through 46 games, right? Okay, they entered today a half game out of first place in the National League West. Now, had they played better the last 3 days, not got swept by Seattle while the Angels swept the Dodgers, guess what? Padres could have been in first place waking up this morning all on their own. So yes, a missed opportunity. But little perspective, they did enter today half game out of first place. So the season is not crashing. It is not over. But with that said, couple of things. They're 2-6 in their last 8 games. If you go back to April 15th, they're now 13-16 since then. So the record is very good. Now, I also want to mention, in that 29-game span, 13-16 since April 15th, a lot of that was with the guys on the IL and a lot of injuries, and they were really banged up, and that included losing 8 of 11 during that span. So that was certainly part of it, and I think you have to recognize that when you're talking about that record since April 15th. But part of the reason the record is 27-19 is because they got off to such a hot start. And that's part of what getting off to such a hot start gives you, is it banks you wins, and it gives you some cushion to when you're not playing well. Hey, the record's not bad at all. 27-19. So you're right. A couple of wins, you turn this thing right around. You're feeling very good about where they're at again. But it's a rough stretch right now. You've lost 4 in a row. You're not scoring. And the reality is, anytime an offense doesn't score and doesn't produce, and it's just really kind of ugly looking, it never feels good. It never looks good. To me, when you're getting good pitching for the most part and you're not scoring, it's probably, from a fan standpoint, the most frustrating form of your baseball team, because you feel like the games are really, really, really winnable, and you're just not scoring even a few runs to be able to win it. So I am very confident in saying they will start to hit. Hopefully this doesn't last more than, tomorrow. I mean, hopefully it's over tomorrow, and hopefully you can find a way to break out of it. But they will. Machado's going to break out of it. Merrill's going to break out of it. You hope it's tomorrow and not a week from tomorrow. That's kind of the key. And, again, you're right. Zoom out a little bit. Yeah, the record's 27-19. Part of that is how good they were at the very, very beginning of the season. But to their credit, they banked a bunch of wins, and maybe just from a first half standpoint, gave themselves a little wiggle room when they went into an offensive slump like this. And we've seen them slump like this already this year. You remember that stretch that included the sweep against the Rays? Everybody wasn't hitting, and injuries played a part in it. And, but right now they're fully healthy offensively, and they're just not doing what they typically do, which is string hits together and move the line and find ways to score even beyond hitting home runs. So you hope that starts tomorrow, and so we'll see if they can get the bats cooking starting tomorrow. As always, if you missed any portion of our post-game coverage, you can go back and listen to all of it on the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast with Sam Levitt, available on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcasts. If you would rather go watch the video version of our post-game coverage, you can do that on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel. Taking a look at tomorrow's game, same time, same place, a 4:07 p.m. first pitch. Our pregame coverage begins at 3:07. Right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres tomorrow. Right-hander Kevin Gausman on the mound for the Blue Jays. Again, first pitch at 4:07, and our pregame coverage begins an hour prior. Final totals in this one here today in this series opener for the Toronto Blue Jays. 3 runs, 3 hits, no errors. They left on 1. For the San Diego Padres, no runs, 5 hits, no errors. They left on 5. Winning pitcher in this game was Chris Bassett, who went 6 scoreless innings. He improves to 4-2. Losing pitcher was Dylan Cease, who drops to 1-3. And the save goes to Jeff Hoffman, his 10th of the season. Time of game, 2 hours and 13 minutes. And the crowd at Rogers Center in Toronto, 23,597. Once again, first pitch tomorrow, 4:07 p.m. Our pregame coverage begins at 3:07. Until then, for our great studio coordinator, Jeff Hamby, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long and good night from inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score tonight, the Toronto Blue Jays 3 and the San Diego Padres 0. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Padres Radio Network. Have a great night, everybody.